Throughout the first performance, I think you will definitely see a sense of playfulness. I think each artist was trying to figure out how to collaboratively work with one another in a way that wasn't so conventional or in a way that we weren't used to. So for me specifically, as one of the photographers, not having like a freedom of space or feeling like I didn't have a freedom of space, knowing that people were performing in the center was something that I had to definitely get used to. I found myself taking photos from similar angles rather than exploring the area around me. I also found it really difficult to not think about, a post-production or a digital manipulation after a photo was taken. And it was hard for me to let go of erasing a photo if I didn't like it or if it wasn't the vision that I was going with. So here I feel like there is a bit more contemplation, not only myself, but in each artist, and just figuring out a way in which that we can make a cohesive performance. So I think a difference you'll see in the second performance was a way in which we found like better ways to collaboratively work together. So I think the dancers were feeding off the energy of Connor's drawing, and then myself and the other photographer were feeding off the energy of like the room and the dancers and the drawing as well. I think we didn't feel as confined in our space, so we started like breaking those barriers and realizing that the center circle was a space for all of the performers, and as being a part of the performance, that space was for us too. So we felt more comfortable with breaking that barrier and going in. As far as letting go of like any control over the production of the image, I really drew back to some of the research I had done in the beginning of the semester, and that was from Christian Kipp, who had done some improvisational photography. And he did a very similar study where he focused on the movement, and it caused him to be more in touch with his senses, and he was more in a meditative state of like reflection in producing his art. So he was focused on how his body was moving, how the subject's body was moving, and just capturing that. And not capturing it in so much of a literal sense, but just capturing, time and space in one. And so the movement and the textures that creates. And so I try to really reflect on that. Another interesting aspect to me was also, I'm very familiar with post-production and working in Photoshop, so I wanted to explore the idea of using, filters beforehand. So we had taken translucent gels that were colored and placed them over our camera and kind of saw how that could manipulate the image as well. So that was like a really interesting component, because we weren't able to take the picture afterwards and add a filter to make it look like something, but better working with one filter throughout the whole process and seeing how that filter can work with the images we were capturing.